This week on the Brody File, one-on-one with the man who very well could be the next president of the United States, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
If the good Lord said to me, hey Scott, be governor, serve 2 terms and move on, and I've got some other calling for you in life, I'd be perfectly satisfied with that.
Also, a breakdown of the 2016 presidential hopefuls. Plus, Jenny in the B Block is back. That's right, she's talking one-on-one with President Obama's man of faith inside the White House.
This is an eternal race that we're in. It's not defined by any one issue, any one policy concern. It's about walking a very long walk with an eternal God.
And you're going to meet Kid President, and he's got some good advice.
20 things we should say more often. Number 20, thank you. And not just on Thanksgiving, every day.
We're thankful you're with us. The Brody File Show on Across America. And welcome again to another scintillating edition of the Brody File. We have recovered from Thanksgiving despite eating large amounts of turkey. And as a matter of fact, we took this picture right there after the Brody File went back for thirds, and believe me, it was not a pretty sight. All right, let's turn now to a much prettier picture that could develop for Republicans. How about this man as next commander-in-chief? You are looking at Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Now, there's a good chance he will run for commander-in-cheesehead in 2016. His new book is called Unintimidated, A Governor's Story and a Nation's Challenge. It's out in bookstores now. We sat down with him here in our Brody File home. Now, before we go to the interview, we want to point out that this is a man who faced a recall election in Wisconsin because he took on the powerful unions and he won. So he drives liberals nuts with that, and now his common sense Midwestern roots could propel him to the GOP nomination. Give me the difference between what we've seen from this commander-in-chief and what a commander-in-cheesehead, if you will, could potentially do here, because there's something about being from Wisconsin.
I think in the Midwest in general, some of what we do is, some of why you've seen success, not only electoral success in 2010, but you've seen success Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa. A lot of that comes from the fact that we're just kind of no nonsense. There's not a lot of flair. That we're not about personalities as much as we are about just getting things done. And I think that comes out of our rural roots. My mother, for example, grew up on a farm where my grandparents, the only thing they ever bought on credit was the mortgage on the farm itself. Everything else, even years after my grandmother was a widow, she was still paying cash for cars, saving up for everything she purchased. Those are the sorts of principles I think are kind of uniquely Midwestern, but I think they're also an American set of ideals. And those are things we just don't see in our nation's capital, not only when it comes to domestic policy, but even foreign policy. And that's part of what's lacking in Washington. The line in the sand about Syria is just one of the many examples with the red line and others out there where if you make threats out there, if you make statements about action, if you don't follow through on them, it might be appropriate that you don't make that in the first place, but once you do, you've got to be fully prepared, and that's about that same seriousness. It isn't just about domestic, it's about foreign policy, it's about national security. Those things increasingly seem to be missing from this White House.
Surely, you're an authentic guy, so surely there have been times where you said, look what we've done in Wisconsin, and you've clearly got to be thinking how that may translate yourself to the national level, I would think. You've got to be thinking that to a degree.
Well, and set aside even a campaign or an office, right. Part of the reason for the book is not only to tell that story, but to have an impact. To me, you don't have to win an election to have an impact. So if the good Lord said to me, hey Scott, be governor, serve 2 terms and move on, and I've got some other calling for you in life, I'd be perfectly satisfied with that.
That is Scott Walker here on the Brody File. So, will Walker be the GOP nominee for president? And if not him, who exactly? Well, let's discuss all of that in this week's long Brody File commentary. Well, here's the Brody File's views on the upcoming 2016 presidential election. First of all, let's start with the Democrats. Hillary Clinton, look, she's going to run. She has to. Democrats want her to, and let's be frank, the White House is there for the taking. After the first African-American president in American history, many Americans are itching for a woman president. And by the way, don't be surprised if even some conservative women vote for Hillary. That's right, I said it. They want a woman president that bad. On the Republican side, the Brody file sees the top contenders as follows: Scott Walker, like we talked about, Chris Christie, Marco Rubio, and Mike Huckabee. That's right, I said it. I said the name, Mike Huckabee. You know, Huckabee just recently decided not to renew his radio show contract, and we also know that he's talking to people about another presidential run. He's very likable, he's competent, he's a former governor. He'd be a threat to win. Now remember, this great answer from Huckabee in 2008 in the presidential debate. Here is some vintage Huckabee.
The question was, from the viewer, was, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus support the death penalty?
Jesus was too smart to ever run for public office, Anderson. That's what Jesus...
You know, plus we should also add that Huckabee has already been vetted on the national level, and that is a big plus. All right, now on to Governor Chris Christie. He's going to be the popular choice of the GOP establishment, blah, blah, blah. And while he'll come under fire from the Tea Party, he has got a pretty darn conservative record that he can run on. Plus, his no-nonsense, straight-talking demeanor is a plus as well. However, it can also be a negative when he doesn't control his emotions very well. For example, he can't have these type of moments that have haunted him in the past.
You want to hear the answer or no? Do you want to hear the answer or don't you? Because I'm not going to put, I've heard you. Okay, next question. Go ahead, yes, sir. And let me tell you something. After you graduate from law school, you conduct yourself like that in the courtroom, your rear end's going to get thrown in jail, idiot.
Now, as for Scott Walker, we talked about this, but he's got a lot of pluses. The base of the party loves him because he stands up to liberals. He's a successful governor with a proven track record. He's an outsider, and he comes across as a regular guy, kind of like Tim Pawlenty, but with some money. He'll be a strong candidate if he runs. Then Marco Rubio. And by the way, can we cue the Hispanic immigration music? Can we do that? I don't know if that's politically correct, but can we do that? Thank you. Folks, let's be honest. If Marco Rubio can somehow salsa his way out of the hot water that he found himself in with the GOP over immigration, if he can do that, then he has a shot. Otherwise, look, he's in deep trouble. If he decides to run for president, his standing took a hit during the immigration debate on Capitol Hill. So we're going to wait to see whether the base will come back to him if he runs in 2016. That is no sure thing, but boy, I got to tell you something. Rubio does have the tools to make a successful run for the presidency because he's smart and he's a great communicator. And these are two crucial elements that you need to be successful at the national level. Oh, by the way, don't worry. I didn't forget about Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, both of them. I didn't forget about them. They are potential experiments. They're still percolating. That's where they are right now. Too early to tell whether they will have real sustainability. All right, when we come back, Jenny in the B Block goes one-on-one with the president's man of faith. We're back in a moment.
Do you have an idea for an invention or a new product? Brian and Alice Jagosh, the inventors of the halftime drill driver, did. They invented a power drill attachment that lets you drill, flip, and drive in seconds. Brian and Alice licensed their invention to the company that brought you the Snuggie, and it's now selling in major retailers nationwide. Look for the Invent Help Caveman on the package. If you have an invention that you would like to try to patent and submit to companies for possible review and want free information on how Invent Help may be able to assist you, call now. Invent Help is America's largest inventor service company with sales offices in more than 60 cities nationwide. Call Invent Help today for free information. Our clients made a financial gain with their invention, but this is just their individual result. Brian and Alice's experience is not typical, as only a very small number of inventions are licensed or sold in stores.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-559-8567. That's 1-800-559-8567.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
And welcome back to the Brody File. Well, look, the B block just hasn't been the same the last few months because, after all, this block is entitled Jenny in the B block. But Jenny been out for a while. I mean, maybe she was backpacking through Europe. Maybe she was duck hunting with Uncle Si down in Monroe, Louisiana. Anyhow, she's back. You
go, girl!
Jenny, nice to have you back. We miss you. And I understand this week you've got a real interesting interview that sheds light on President Obama's devotional life.
David, Joshua Dubois is the youngest person to ever head a White House office, and now the former director of the White House Office of Faith-Based Initiatives and Neighborhood Partnerships is the author of The President's Devotional, a compilation of daily Christian devotions that he sends to President Obama. Joshua, welcome.
It's wonderful to be with you, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
The president has said these have meant the world to him. What inspired you or motivated you to start doing this?
And one day I thought, this is a guy who has a lot of different support around him. He has policy advisors and political support, but I wondered who was thinking about his soul. And so I decided to get up the gumption to send him an email, an encouraging word to begin his day. The first one was a meditation on the 23rd Psalm, and got his email address and sent it off. Didn't know if I was going to get fired for emailing him, but he wrote me back and said, Joshua, this is exactly what I needed this morning. Would you do this every day? And 6 years later, I've been sending them every single morning.
Oh, and these are all Christ-centered devotions.
This is a Bible-based devotional. It is about the life and death and resurrection of Jesus and what we can learn from our Savior in our daily walk.
Do you take into consideration what's going on in the world, or do you just kind of, wait for God to speak to you?
Really try to focus on more eternal principles. How do we grow closer to God each day? How do we get a clarity of purpose where we understand why we're doing what we're doing? How do we love our neighbors, even those who are difficult to love? And so really try to speak to some of these eternal principles using both scripture and history and culture. So you'll see everyone from Abraham Lincoln to Johnny Cash reflected in the devotionals.
Dubois has seen the president through several controversies, but perhaps none were as hot as the contraception mandate in Obamacare that pitted Christians against Dubois' boss.
You write that in many instances you felt that you were the only person in the administration advocating for religious liberty. And you say, speaking of some senior White House officials, you write, their inability to make this relatively small concession to religious organizations seemed to me unreasonable at best, and at worst, destructive. Tell us about what a delicate time this was for you in your position.
Well, it was a very tough time. And the thing that essay in the book, in the President's Devotional, really illuminates is how I had to learn to deal a little bit better with disagreement, even when I disagree with folks that I care about and that I work with and that I'm close to. I started in a place where I was questioning their motives and integrity and so forth. And God really shook me up and said that you can have a passionate disagreement on a really important issue, but you've still got to treat others with love and respect.
Right now, the president is facing the lowest approval numbers of his presidency. He's going through a tough time. Do you feel like he's going to be able to bounce back from this?
I really do, and I think we serve a big God with a very long time horizon. One thing that the President's Devotional, the book, really speaks to is really having a sense of perspective that, this is an eternal race that we're in. It's not defined by any one issue, any one policy concern, although policies and issues are important. But it's about walking a very long walk with an eternal God.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And David, again, the book is The President's Devotional, and you can go and buy it anywhere books are sold.
All right, Jenny, thanks so much. Good to have you back. All right, when we come back, you don't want to miss this. 20 things we should say more often. We bring you Kid President next.
announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions, just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card, just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
And welcome back to the Brody File, everybody. Well, look, normally we won't run a whole big video clip of something unless we really think it's special. Well, get ready for special. Meet a young boy who goes by the name Kid President. We found this video on GodTube and we were entirely amused and touched because this young man has some great advice for every president, politician, and person in the world. Have a look.
20 things we should say more often. Number 20, thank you. Number 19, excuse me. Number 18, here's a surprise corn dog that I bought you because you're my friend. This is a good idea. Corn dog for you, corn dog for you, corn dog for you. Number 17, I'm sorry. Number 16, I forgive you. Number 15, you can do it! But don't say it if it's something they can't do. Number 14, another thing that we should say more often, I have barbecue sauce in my shirt too. Number 13, please. Number 12, everything is going to be okay. Number 11, oh, you got me a corn dog too? You shouldn't have, buddy. Number 10, I don't know. I know a lot of people who need to say that. My sister. Number 9, you're so awesome I named my dog after you. Wait. That could hurt someone's feelings. I mean boat. I named my boat after you. Wait, who even has a boat? You're so awesome, I legally changed my name to yours. Wait, that's super creepy. Just tell people they're awesome and mean it. Number 8, hello person that I never met before. Here's a high five. Number 7, my sports team is not always the best sports team. Number 6, nothing. Sometimes that's the best thing you can say. Number 5. Doesn't mean anything, but it's just really funny. Number 4. I disagree with you, but I still like you as a person, who is a human being, and I'll treat you like that. Because if I didn't, it would make everything bad, and that's what lots of people do, and it's lame. Whew, I need a water break, y'all. Number 3. Sometimes you just gotta scream. Number 2, life is tough, but so are you. Sometimes we all need to be reminded to keep going. Number 1, something nice, anything. If you can't think of anything nice to say, you're not thinking hard enough. So what about you? What do you think people should say more often?
Some great advice from Kid President. All right, next, Alan West Unplugged. A former congressman sits down with the Brody File and has a thing or two to say about this president. We're back in a moment.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Millions of Americans with an ostomy live their lives to the fullest every day. And over the last 10 years, thousands have chosen Liberator Medical as their caring and reliable resource for ostomy supplies. Liberator Medical is a nationally accredited Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance provider, so we can handle all your Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance paperwork and billing. And Liberator Medical has been chosen as a preferred supplier by all the leading ostomy manufacturers, including Coloplast, Hollister, Convatec, and Generics. We supply all these leading ostomy brands, so you can always get the ostomy supplies and accessories you want and trust. And all of our ostomy care specialists are product certified by the manufacturers. Shipping is free and discreetly delivered right to your door. Unhappy with your present ostomy supplier? Call Liberator Medical and ask about our free ostomy sampling program. We also offer catheters and urological supplies.
Call 1-800-513-3076. That's 1-800-513-3076.
And we're back here on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That's the Brody File. We're not giving away money, just a bunch of Christian love. Now, one guy who loves to give advice is Colonel Allen West. The former congressman from Florida never holds back. Ho-ho! He may be out of Congress for the time being, but he has always got something to say. He heads up the Allen West Foundation now. It's an organization that tries to educate and inspire the next generation of conservative, minority, and veteran leaders. Well, recently we spent some time with the Colonel at the Values Voters Summit, and here is some of that very informative and entertaining interview. Colonel, thanks so much for doing this.
Dave, it's always a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Hey, look, let's start with, I have to get your take on what's going on in Washington.
Sure.
With, I like to call it kindergarten class here.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Look, if Allen West was in charge, what would be going on here? What would you be telling Speaker Boehner and in these leadership meetings? What's the message? What's the end game here?
Well, first of all, when you look at the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, if it is a law, and we live in a constitutional republic, then a law is supposed to apply to all citizens. So there should not be any waivers, exemptions, there should not be any delays, because if you understand our separation of powers, checks and balances between the executive, legislative, and judicial branch, once something is signed into law, it's supposed to be executed by the executive branch. They're not supposed to be this cronyism and this favoritism. If you want to change a law, it has to come back to the legislative branch, to the House, and then also to the Senate. So right now, we are in complete violation of our fundamental principles and the Constitution. So I would say to the President very simply, Mr. President, this is not a law. Now, if you want to, give the individual the same type of delay that you've given the employer, then that's fine. But we got to level the playing field, and that means it has to apply to everyone. And when you start talking about our debt, sooner or later we got to get this thing under control. I don't know what type of school of mathematics the president went to when he said increasing the debt limit does not increase your debt. It absolutely does, and we've gone from 10.67 trillion to 17 trillion. The president could end up having accumulated more debt in his time as president than all previous presidents, which is astonishing. So we got to talk about tax reform. We got to talk about regulatory reform.
I am curious what you make of networks like the Al Jazeera network and what kind of a lot of people call it propaganda.
It is.
Well, talk to me about that.
Well, I'm very concerned that I understand our desire and our benevolence and our sense of freedoms, but also we have to have a sense of American exceptionalism that says we're not going to allow you to come into our country and propagandize against us. And when you look at Qatar and the type of people that they support, they're the biggest funders of the Muslim Brotherhood. They're the biggest funders of the opposition groups in Syria that are Al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood affiliated as well. So now they have a network station, and they're not going to be successful, but they have plenty of money to continue to throw at this thing, and so they'll stay on the air. But we should not have, that would be just the same as we allowed, Hitler and the Nazis to have a radio station or a TV station in the United States of America, or, the Emperor of Japan to have a TV station or radio station be broadcasting into the United States of America.
I'm curious, two last questions. I'm wondering about the future for the Republican Party. I kind of liken it to kind of an intervention, the Republican Party is kind of like, somewhat to agree, an alcoholic. They're kind of addicted to they got addicted to a lot of that spending and
Sure.
some of that stuff. And now the Tea Party's trying to intervene here and say, hey, hold on for a minute. What is your sense about where this is going ultimately?
Well,
here?
I think the Republican Party has to understand you cannot win by being a lesser version of the other side. If we remember Ronald Reagan's famed CPAC speech, I believe right here in this hotel, where he talked about, painting in the bold colors and not the, pretty pastels. You've got to show a complete contrast between, who they are, their principles on, the liberal, progressive, socialist side, and what we want to represent. Because if you try to, blur those lines, you confuse yourself and you confuse the American people. Ronald Reagan gave a clear contrast between his vision for America and that of Jimmy Carter. And until we get some individuals that will run or be in the House or be in the Senate that present that type of clear delineation, we're going to continue to have these problems.
Well, that's a perfect transition to my last question. What about, there are millions of Americans, constitutional conservatives, that want to know about your potential future plans. They want to see you run for Senate,
Well, I have always, there's a great little Southern maxim that says, write your plans in pencil and give God the eraser. So, I know whatever plans God has for me, or, plans for me to prosper, as it says in Jeremiah 29:11. So I will be obedient to His will, and that's the most important thing. And it's very humbling that the American people would, want me to be in Senate or, serve at even a higher level in this country. But I have to make sure that I'm doing what God would have me to do.
Let me ask you straight up, you're a straight up guy. If Marco Rubio decides to run for president, you consider that Senate seat?
Yeah, I would consider the Senate seat. I would definitely consider, running statewide in Florida. I think that, we have a good enough appeal, and we have a good enough name and face recognition to be successful in doing that.
All the best, sir. Thanks.
Thank you so much, David.
That is Alan West here on the Brody File. We're back in a moment with the Oy Vey Moment of the Week.
Hi, my name is Breda. I'm just your typical 9-year-old. I love singing, dancing, reading, discovering the simple truth. My grandpa says you're never too young or old to learn the value of a dollar. He taught me the true value of this paper dollar. You see this little gold coin? It says $1 on it. But guess what? That was a long time ago. Today, this gold dollar is worth over 100 paper dollars. This paper dollar is now only worth 1 penny compared to America's former money, the gold dollar. My grandpa says the only money worth saving today is real money, gold or silver coins. He's pretty smart. How our paper dollars lost their value, he says. It's all explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. It's easy and fun to read. If you call the number on the screen, I will send you a copy totally free. Next time, I'll explain the simple truth about money.
And welcome back to the Brody File. Well, before we leave you, we want to confess something. The Brody File likes to eat. You put it in front of us, we're chowing down. However, we do have our limits. We really do. And that leads us to this week's Oy Vey Moment of the Week. Well, folks, get ready to watch a politician eat their hair. That's right, I said it, and we've got the video for you. We want you to watch Australian politician Gary Gray. He's the guy on the right in the back. He's sitting behind his colleague David Feeney, who is speaking to Parliament. All right, you ready? Watch the right part of the screen. Let's roll the tape.
The War of Independence and the Civil War are central to understanding the contemporary US, its values and mores. For the United Kingdom, its history is an empire upon which the sun never set. For France, the French Revolution, Napoleon and the bloody sacrifice of World War I.
Time again for the Brody File instant replay. Can we go there? What's he doing there, folks? Is he eating his hair? Right? I mean, that's what he's doing. Or is that a Cheeto crumb in there? What's going on in there? Folks, if that's not the Oy Vey Moment of the Week, I'm not sure what is. That does it for us until next week, everybody. Oy gavolt. God bless. And have a great week.